Here's Peter. Peter's from Florida. Raj here is from Oklahoma.
Hi, Peter. Nice to meet you.
He just left. He'll be back on. Looks like he got. They've had the hurricane up there. They had to move the first one that came through. They had to split because it was up there near Jacksonville. But this one coming through now, I think it's not going to hit him. So it's going to stick around. There he is. Yeah, this is Raj, Peter, and Raj, this is Peter.
Hi, Raj. Very
nice to meet
see
you.
you. Very nice to see you too. Yeah, I've heard a bit about you. I hope you didn't mind that Val shared a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good man.
He has enough to create an entire mini-series.
I think it's a maxi series.
Yeah. So what are you guys doing anyway? What's what are we meeting for here today? Who's the big brainstormer?
That's Peter. It's got to be Peter.
It might
Peter
be
the
me.
brain.
The brain has been shot out by hurricanes and weather control manipulators and everything else, you know, that's been going on for the last 40, 50, 60 years. And, you know, I know you know.
Yep.
So we're kind of addressing that. And also at the same time, we have some, well, I would say, brilliant position to share. And Val and I, you know, to put perspective, I suppose, was we've been friends 30 years, and this last month or two, last 5, 6, 10, 7 weeks, we started working on the new Sunrise Trail together and hiked up and found this beautiful oasis in the mountain I call the Golden Mountain. And the Sierra Cypress is the name of the place that we had spotted on the map. And we ended up meeting Mario Cypress and as the owner of the property that is down, goes kind of parallel with the ocean, up 4 or 5 hour hike into the mountains, and then make a right turn. And that is, I think, tomorrow's Val's intention is to go and complete the trail back down to the beach. And
I'm going to do it Sunday, actually, because I want to be on the Saturday Skype. I was told them they want me there, so I'll do it Sunday. But that's the idea. Yeah, take it from the beach east up into the mountains, which is about 4 or 5 hours, and then south to La Mission, a little town, about another 10 miles maybe or so.
Right.
We'll see. So I'm just researching it and seeing what we can find.
So,
it's quite an extended walk because you know, we kind of went up at it's, if you could imagine a obelisk, where the peak of the obelisk is where we walked up to at Sierra Cypress. That would be my middle of my head, and we walked up to my right eye to the cafe Veronera, and met with Mario and the other people, the builders and farmers, and they're on this eye, and then up here is the Sierra Cypress, and then you have to come all the way this way, and then down left eye, and then down to the river, which is on my left cheek, or, you know, the ocean rather, and the estuary that's beautiful. All of it is really beautiful and neat. Dry land mostly. In any case, a very nice trail hike overall, but it'll take you a while to go from the top of my head down to the left side of my mouth. So, okay, that joke didn't work. So it doesn't. Anyway, so what we're talking about, Raj, if that's the right way to say your name?
That is
Yes.
Raj, like Dodge.
Oh, gotcha. I saw Val type it out. Okay, Raj. I like that very much. Roger Dodger,
My uncle used to call me that.
of course, because you've had to.
My given name is Rogelin.
Oh, yes, that's nice.
So I just, cut it in half. It's easier for people to understand, and it serves two purposes. It keeps everybody kind of, they think I'm a man, but I'm not. So, when I'm communicating or whatever, I can use it to my advantage because, people are somewhat surprised when they come face to face with Raj. I'm not a guy, not a man. So it throws them off right away. It's like a psychological attack.
Yeah, I see. Um, I wanted to relate that to your it, what part of your Indian heritage and so forth related to Val and myself, and some of the recent movies that we've been watching, or I've been watching, or we connect to this kind of well, we both have for a long time. Actually, I think I was a famous Indian. Well, Black Elk, anyway.
Well, I have done,
That
I,
one.
I have done, I actually did 7 years of genealogy and historical research in the National Archives. And when I started my genealogy, what I had noticed is that when I was looking for my people, it always took me to the government websites.
Yep.
And so when I researched my history, I really truly, it's ingrained in the government. The government are the United States government and the Cherokee Nation know more about me than I know about me.
Mhm.
And the problem that what I had is I was working on a great grandfather who happened to be born a slave, and he was fighting for his child who was my great grandfather, who was not a slave, born in 1900. And what I had noticed on working that case is that my great grandfather was denied because my his father was born into slavery. So they would not accept him into the tribe on the rolls, on the Dawes rolls. I'm very
Right.
knowledgeable about the difference. Total, there is where I came into my problem and I quit doing genealogy was when I was searching. I happened to be in the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and I was in their website. And then I was in the Library of Congress and I was doing the research on this grandpa. Well, I ran onto a file where it showed me that all of us used to have a symbol, and they made the Indians carry a little patch, and that was their identification. They could wear it on the outside of their clothing or keep it in their pocket, but it was a certain dimension. Okay. It had a certain, it was either a circle, a square, and that I found that interesting because you've heard the term know the signs. You can see the signs. So when like the military would detain the Indians, they had to show their sign, and their sign was attached to what group that they were in back then. Can you believe that? And they had the little patch that he wore in a picture. Well, I went through all these pictures. There was 5 of them, and I actually viewed a picture that looked exactly like my father and my great great grandfather. My dad is a carbon copy of my great-great-grandfather, the one that was fighting to get his kids onto the rolls, right? And so what happened was I picked up my phone and I went to take a picture and the screen whited out, of course, you know, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to jail because I just violated documentations, blah, 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 whatever. So, and I got locked out of this and it threw me out of the system. Well, when I finally got back into the system to view it, that picture had been replaced with a Amish looking man wearing a hat, straight bowl cut, stone face, black and white, and they were presenting that as my grandfather. Okay. So within a 2-week period, I seen them change my grandfather picture so that while I'm doing this, you know, project or whatever, they're going to give me this, they're going to give me that picture and I'm going to keep that going for the rest of the generations. Do you see what I mean? If I hadn't have actually seen that other picture of that was a carbon copy of my father, they removed that. And I knew right then we were in deep trouble and that everything that I was doing and everything that I was searching is absolutely not accurate. You know, I wouldn't go into a court of any of these clown, you know, there's just no way to prove my case against them. It's my word against them. Well, I called the Bureau of Indian Affairs to report what had happened, and they actually treated me like I was the one manipulating these files and accused me of doing it. Now, why would I do that to my own history? You see what I mean? So this disheartened me, and when I realized it was a big, huge scam, I quit. However, there are 800 plus indigenous tribes, okay? And there's only 576, I believe, registered federal recognized tribes. And I happen to be a descendant and I have a tribal card and I live on tribal land that looks just like the white man. Okay, you can't tell the difference, and that's my problem around here because when I slapped everyone with notice not to come over here and touch me because we have jurisdiction issues and I'm prepared to go all out. Seriously. So, I'm just a little tornado all on my own, you know, and I'm not really everybody's cup of tea, but I come from a line of Indians. I can show you gravestones that the DNA in me is I actually have a matter of fact, I'm an Iroquois, a Powhatan, a Delaware, Shawnee, Cherokee, Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Creek Freedman Native American that I can find. Okay. And I have a grandfather that has a trust that some of my family have access to. And see, I was searching out the birth certificates, and my birth certificate happened to be different than everybody else's birth certificate. And so it always kept taking me back to the IIM accounts that are effective. And in those IIM accounts, there's $49.7 billion in that account. And the only people that have access to that are Congress, if you can believe that. So they can simply go on the IIM account, fill out a form, and buy a brand new house with the Native American money. Okay. I can't do it. But, and what they're doing is they've created a program where you can claim monies that are owed to your ancestors. However, I have to provide the proof. Well, if they're censoring that proof, Peter, I'm never going to get that proof. And I'm never going to claim that. I'm never going to claim that money. That's the scam. So when I claimed, because I put in 13 claims, I have 13 ancestors that are due funds. And I actually had the Treasury's Department, after I filed those claims, call me on the phone. And they wanted to know what my grandpa Adair's tribe was. Well, guess what? I couldn't answer that question. And I had looked for 6 years for that information. When I moved to the town I'm in right now, my hometown, because I come back because of genealogy research and these claims, the place where I could have obtained that information closed down for COVID. They're not going to open it for 2 more years. I could have got that information showcased in a glass in the museum, but it's now closed down. And they're keeping my grandpa's tribal affiliation, the one with the trust, because I happen to be the cousin of the Quapaw tribe. Like my cousin's name's Kathy Quapaw. Her dad was the chief of the Quapaws. And she told me that if I had a trust, that my grandpa had a trust, she says, then all you've got to do is just claim that and you can get your own check through grandpa. Well, the Treasury Department wanted me to tell them what tribe he was from. I couldn't guess. And I cried on the phone because that was crushing me, because I couldn't access that information. It's been withheld because they don't want me to claim that trust. See what I mean? Or I'd have enough money right now to fund all of our projects. That's what my intent was. And I didn't even know all this was going on when I'm doing this. I was so focused on this. I didn't even know about COVID. I didn't know about any of this stuff going on in our country. And so after that happened, that's when I wrote my letter to Congress and I went in the fight, and Val has all the history. He's got all the dialogue up to this point. But that's kind of, my background in that was to either add or eliminate my people and give them their true history. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. I'm sick of people telling me, oh, I am just German and I'm English. No, clown. No, you're not. Okay? No, you're native. We all are.
Right. Let me interject right here about this and some relations I have, which include Val and also some past life and my present life, which hooks up with all of this, but also it's because of what brings us all kind of full circle up to the present. And it's interesting. So I'll give my very short story. I do know that I was, I'm related to the first governors of Massachusetts in Boston, wherever, and but my last name Adams is not in that part of the roll. It's a different Wheeler Halls. And okay, so I recognize this past history in my family and people that I grew up with, in particular, that particular past life that I think, and very sure of, was John Quincy Adams, the president, sixth president. And he was the one who fought Andy Jackson. He won the election against him in 1826, or I think that's the right year. And Jackson went on to be the one who sent all the Indians on the Trail of Tears. And Quincy Adams fought the Amistad trial as a lawyer for the slaves, which was the ship. They made the movie about this. The Amistad is the name of it. I think it's Steven Spielberg. And they had acquired control of their slave ship and wanted to get recognized in, I think it was up in the Northeast, Boston, Connecticut, wherever. And so that part of the story doesn't hook up with my family lineage that is not as Adams as a last name, but I am quite sure that my brother, and at least my older brother, was one of the other famous American individuals. And I'm also friends with another person who I grew up with and played basketball on the high school basketball team. And Doug lives here in Florida, and he's recently gave me a Mercedes about two years ago, meaning recently, and 2 or 3 years ago, that he had an extra car, and he was George Washington. And what happened, there's a short story with that where I told him I thought he was George Washington, and then about, let's say, a month later, he was talking about it with his wife at an intersection when they were driving, and they stopped when they didn't have to. And if they had continued through the intersection, they said they would have been killed because a car came, racing through the intersection, would have sideswiped them. And they said there were all kinds of people watching this at an intersection. And they said when I called them that they wanted me to know that they were trying to confirm whether this was true or not, what I had said. So basically it had something to do with saving their lives. And in any case, so later he gave me the Mercedes. And that's part of where I grew up, which is in New York, where actually the President Clinton and his wife Hillary lived there in my hometown, like about a mile from my house, where I grew up, that is. Okay, so jumping across this connections, you see, is about lining things up more or less so that we understand what brought us to this point. And so there's a number of things that are related with this. The economics is one, that, and this Green Power Lodge idea, which is the natural, working with a natural environment, but also that's the broad term of what the concept is. And the more realistic, practical, I guess you'd say, is the viewpoint of building these self-sufficient, energy-producing, hydroponic, all-natural, bioengineered, hydroponic garden, greenhouse facility, or they've got a number of prototypes, and there's the story of the Regenitech guy, Michael Smith in Montana, the video that I think Val has shared with a good number of folks here and myself as well, to try and get this out because, well, it's clear that this is what's partially going to happen. And I think next year, going to next year, these projects are available. Now, I'm going to really cover some more broad territory because in Florida here, we recently had a third hurricane, or fourth hurricane actually, but the last 3 hurricanes came right at my house where I am in North Florida on the Georgia border. The third one was the one that was this year. That was Helene, which is, my mother's name is Helen. It's just all weird and just totally crazy out of the box idea that all this is related, but it's definitely related. And last year I went to New York and spent 2 months where I was born. I was born in New York City, and I went and sang all over the city and met people all over for the 2 months I was there, and sang like a cappella in Times Square and at the Imagine Circle, and so forth and so on. And there's all the, so this is part of the story of presenting this, but not in the context. As an example, the United Nations was meeting when I got to New York on the same day that I got there, and it met for the next 2 weeks. And Biden gave some speech or did something, but there was, this is a whole big story there with that. all that stuff. But my intention, it was like I was invited to the whole thing without having any invisible, rather visible connotation. So I recognized this recently with Val because we were talking about, we call ourselves the Invisibles, which is that idea that we are present and accounted for, but not seen. And we are doing things in that sense of putting something forward, not necessarily trying to do any kind of manipulated or legal presentation or urge for recognition. And how I want to relate this, Raj, is with this idea I have been given. I think a lot of these things have been given to me, or I'm doing it. It's very hard to tell the difference, so that's okay. But the main thing about it is this context of true freedom, beauty, and truth is one way I talk about it. But also, I'm going to get myself lost and in the ozone, so that happens sometimes. The idea of whether I'm creating it or it's being given to me, it's the same thing because it really doesn't matter, and there's this all-isness to it all, which isn't personal, and it's not referenced by any institution or beingness of, let's say, the religions, the educational groups, the schools, the business environment, etc. All of it. None of that has any application directly anymore. It's how we want to present or do something now that has some realness to it. I got it full circle. The thought came back now about the Indians of Florida, especially because the hurricane might as well have been targeted right straight at the Milton that went through it. It knocked out the Tropicana Stadium for the baseball team, the Tampa Bay Rays. It went right at the city of Tampa and the Hard Rock Cafe, which is owned by the Seminole, the Indians tribe. They have the owner. They're the owner. The Indians are the owners of the Hard Rock Cafe hotels and casinos. So how this is very important because I recently, I don't know if it was Val who recommended it, but somebody, no, Fred did. Fred Perlman, friend of ours here, and he said, why don't you go talk to the Indian leaders? Which does make a lot of sense because they have a huge amount of money, which they want to find investments for. And if they would seed the new Earth, it's almost like a, what do you call, terraforming idea, where we're going to re-bioengineer the soil and create energy production out of that. And each community is a network, is on the network, let's say, but it's its own self-sufficient operation. And it can also supply energy, electric energy, to all the people in the, let's say, if we said Oklahoma, the institutions and so forth, like that, or the reservation, or the community of people, but also the greater communities. See, so because if it gets, that's where things stop a lot of times, where they just, okay, it's good for us, but who cares about anybody else? Well, no, that attitude doesn't work. At least, I mean, that's the old attitude. So I wanted to bring this full circle with one more Indian something. Oh, David Green is a former friend of mine. I think Val might have known him, from California, the Bay Area. And David was with me as an Indian. I think he was the one called Standing Bear, and the Sioux. And we one time walked off into a little parkland area in the Bay, San Francisco, Palo Alto, wherever, and I started to play a song. He had his drum with him, and I started to do this song, which was the very, very familiar to me Indian dance piece, and kind of getting a little bit feeling of that when it happened. We both recognized, wow, we recognized it. Now, David, since then, I haven't talked to him. This is a long time ago now, but I know, went to Oklahoma when the hurricanes came through. I mean, the tornadoes, excuse me. And by the way, in Florida, the hurricanes had tornadoes, incredible tornadoes in this hurricane. Never happened in Florida. Never happened in Florida. It's unreal. The whole storm was completely freaked out. It looks like it was absolutely created. If I saw one video of this huge storm here, and then the circle inside was visible like a wheel in the middle of the eye of the storm, and just about to hit landfall, I think, at that point. And you can see, you just see this like somebody's turning a wheel inside the middle of the storm, because it really came up out of nowhere and went all the way to 5K for the largest possible hurricane, and then spun off these tornadoes. It's just totally unreal. So this was the fourth storm after the other two. The one that came up in last year came up here, and we had no power. It lasted about 2 weeks, but my wife drove me to New York. I wanted to go to New York. I was planning on it. I couldn't get there, so we drove. We just left. She drove me all the way up, and that was, to go to New York, to get me to go to New York and do whatever happened there. So then the object is to try and put this together in what's going on. So the hurricane came through right at the Hard Rock Cafe, which of course these big buildings like that are going to be okay. The people who are in vulnerable areas, or they live near the coast, or and in particular in North Carolina. Oh, Val, is it okay? And Raj, if I continue, I've got that other part about the North Carolina.
I'm
book.
good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Well,
Peter and Raj.
Because we
You
did.
guys are great articulators.
Yeah.
Just listen. Thank you.
Right. Well, I was also a writer of note in another past life. And to put that together is because the writing part, let's say, is, or our histories as different things, means that we're always going to have those capacities, and we've learned them, or at least learned some of how to do that at some valuable level. And so, it doesn't mean that, we were a shaman once, so we got to be a shaman again, no, not at all, because there's no need for taking any position, really, except for whatever is next. And that's kind of what has been happening, just getting travels. But I wrote a book 20 years ago, which is on Amazon, and nobody's read it. I have no sold copies. I actually, all I did was put the manuscript on and mostly provided it for free. Yeah, you put a number on. It had 6 different parts, and it's a double trilogy. And thankfully, recently, Kevin Smith, who's with us, has been making recordings, or taking the recordings and makes videos. And I've been sharing the different parts variously. And the part about the North Carolina was about this Cherokee half-blood, let's say, geologist who's exploring around the caves in North Carolina near this dam site, and a portal opens up, and he meets a woman who's a student, I guess we'd say, and they meet in the cave, or at the cave, and then they end up making love in the cave, and then she gets taken away into the portal, which goes to the Indians' happy hunting ground, as I wrote it in the book, in any case. And he is then he's meeting with the townspeople, in that there's an Indian group and the townspeople who want to do some kind of a resort or a Dollywood or something, casino in the North Carolina mountain near that area. And so they're having these discussions, but there's a hurricane headed towards the place where they are in North Carolina, which I related to Fontana Dam. And I swear, Val, this storm that just passed over us, Helene, which in my book, the storm comes up to the dam. It's unprecedented for hurricanes to go that far into the mountains. And what happens is he goes into the other side, the hero, and finds the girl, but he has to deal with the Dark Lord or whatever, demon or whatever, who is hassling everything, really. But in this sense, he's very active on the real side, or wherever this is. Let's say the next level, doesn't matter. I relate it sometimes to people where ghosts are, and people who don't pass on fully, or whatever, or the place where people go, their astral plane, the 4th dimension, the next dimension, and so that's where a lot of the manipulation comes down into the physical. So this was a book, was story part was representing that presentation about this being and that level. It's not the ultimate heaven the Indians may call happy hunting grounds. I think that's a very nice name for where the deceased go, or I shouldn't even call them deceased, because nobody's deceased. So writing this stuff is hard. It's a terminology. I'm using the word flagrant for some reason, because it's so flagrantly abused. And the primary example would be the word God, and or Lord, or Christ, too, and all of those things, and how they're used in have they been functionalized within religious frameworks as a way of making people be under the control of the authoritarian domination and the demon control idiot, 3-headed monster, or there's all kinds of terms for that we share or have an idea of. And it doesn't matter, except for, yes, these things are real at some level, and we want to at least acknowledge our relation to them. That's the main thing. It's not so much that we know them, but that we now are perfectly in our own awareness, and that means that's very, very, very important. There isn't anything else really, but in this case, okay, the story where after the storm's coming up to the North Carolina, and it cuts this path, and this current storm, Helene, has gone up to Lake Lure, it's called, and Fairview is another name of a town, and Asheville is at the bottom end of this river, mountain river coming down, and it wiped out towns, or nearly wiped out, but in some ways, I don't think it really did. I mean, I don't, this sounds crass maybe, but I don't think it really wipes out anything except for maybe the human man-made structures in their power grid, which is why you hear this in the news. Oh, you're going to lose your power. You're going to lose everything. You're not going to have your internet. You're not going to have your TV, right? That's really what they're saying. This condition is what could happen with all of this. Let's say if they really had some awareness, which they don't, but I think you could also say that most of the people, or many of the people, actually have a, what do you call an ulterior or a side view, we'll call it. There's another term which I'm not getting in my head.
Opportunist?
No, but that's a good term, very good one. Related to what they do with it is they use their opportunist attitude. But we could say that it's an ulterior viewpoint where, I mean, that the people are aware of what's going on. I want to put it that way. I think that they are, and they're really afraid to confront it. They do not want to see this, because it means a total regeneration of their whole view of what this life really is, etc. And so naturally they go, okay, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I hear it. But they stop there, or they just go back where they were, yeah, okay. I need to use my real awareness, and or whatever. In the new you terms, we'll talk like that about it, because that's that point of reference, and that's fine. I'm not presenting myself trying to say this is the point of reference. There is, ours is the point of reference that you must use, etc. like that. Not at all. Absolutely not, because I think that the real point of reference is not a certain point of view. It's a absolute wholeness. And so once we start acknowledging that, or do acknowledge it, then, like, the perception, let's say, of the opportunist is, okay, sure, let's take the opportunity. They could do this opportunity to input a totally functional building arrangement with a farm or natural environment capacities, and sharing of that's energies, etc., and take it totally outside of the economic, really would be the best way. But that's certainly not going to happen in this present environment. So that's the idea, I think, that Michael Smith is presenting with Regenitech, where he's saying communities, or small or large functioning dome. The building, one of the models is a dome-shaped hydroponic garden. Is just beautiful, just beautiful. And and they had the, I think, the greenhouse connection, and the what they call this dragon, which is a gasifier that takes the carbon fuel and chars it and turns it into a biosoil, engineered soil that's much more powerful in terms of being able to grow food efficiently and shorter term, and it's all clean, no pesticide or whatever like that. It's totally re-engineering the soil. So that is the picture that I think that I'm holding, and Val and I are holding, or seeing, that we would not necessarily wanting to be, okay, we're going to go to your community and build it for you, and then you guys can go la la la. I don't mean Oklahoma, I just meant anybody. You can see that where they're going, oh, that's interesting, but I don't know, and also all the restrictions of the environment, the economy, and the controlled patri-idiocy is a word I use for it, which means, I made the word up, I think, which is patriotic idiocy. Because it doesn't matter what we're patriotic to, but if you're just going to be if a person's going to sit there blind to this, to what their group is putting forth, as an example, I would say, the thought picture came to me about the Indian who have all this money, and I'm sure they must be thinking, at least I hope so, I don't know, in some form of what it would be a truly humanitarian and altruistic perspective. And
they're out for their self, Peter. I'm just going to say it. It's the truth. The leaders of all of the registered tribes, it's a scam.
You're 100% right. And but then again, in the 100%, there's always one, and that's all that's really required in terms of, if, let's say, we were going to get someone to invest. I have an economic project, and probably not going to talk on it at this second, except for to say that I'm the only, see, the reason that I did all this historical study also was because I've been an astrologer for 50 plus years. I would say, the best astrologer in the world. The reason I say that is because I've discovered the universal astrology, which is I call solar universal, which is the position of the sun in relation to the galactic center. And you can get any position of any star to the galactic center. Not that we need to, but yes, there are some references there. There's some incredible references, really. Nonetheless, this gives the universal picture of creation, we'll say, or what they call creation, and takes it to the end of it, as far as it can go. And that's what's been given to me in the last 10 years, in particular, on that. And so I don't consider myself an astrologer, and that word, I call it Solar Artz. And I've got all these videos on the YouTube and stuff under my song producing track thing called Hey Paneaglesong. And also I did about 1,000 total videos, and a lot of them are about the environment and our position in relation to it, and about NUE, of course, and all of whatever I've learned in all those different things, or just spontaneous songs about it. So that's all there in that whole thing. But kind of what I did in New York, which was, I called it the Star Rock, or I'm the Star Man, blah, blah, blah. Just make up words and names to get people's attention, really. It's incredibly hard to get people's attention. I had almost, let's say, 2,000 people pass me one night going to a drone show in Central Park. And I had this friend who just showed up, and people just show up all over the place to do something. It's really amazing. And this kid, held up my sign that says Paneaglesong, Star Rock, Sing Nu UU, whatever, stuff like that. And so that was, I had 2,000 people pass me. Not one person that I know stopped. They all went in to watch the drone show, which lasted 10 minutes. And then they, it was, and they had one every hour for a couple of hours. And, but a huge, probably more than 2,000 people walked right by me and walked across the imagined circle where John Lennon was. And so I'm sitting there, or I stood up, I put myself in the light and put my hand up, or I sang a little bit. Nobody's able to even hear you much, in that situation. It doesn't matter. It's just that happened. And that's it, you see. But the number of people that recognize even a little bit is super small, even when they're with you for months or weeks. Go to the same place every day, and they're all paying attention to their own thing or their survival thing. That is, how can I survive well, or just get in this case, the place in New York where people were it was a Jewish center that fed the people who came there. So that's it on that one. I think on all that related, but the Indian, see that even if, yes, they're all self-convinced that their Indian leadership
Do you mind if
has
I
those people. They have to have somebody.
Do you mind if I,
Oh, please go ahead.
comment on the part of the natives? What I have found to be the fact is there. When I look at my chief of the Cherokees Western Band, okay, it's truly one of the biggest tribes. Okay, now I'm just going to talk about the registered tribes, okay, because they've been recognized. They're getting a check out of that IIM account, $49.7 billion in that account every year for my benefit that I don't benefit. Okay, so I cannot tell the difference between my chief and the white man here. They're the same. They're one in the same. So how it works is that, like, if you was to go to the Cherokees and you had a question, right? If you're not a member of that tribe, by law, they're not giving you any information. And actually, information about myself, I got off of a web. See, I started researching before they started scrubbing all these, censoring, all this information for the claims process, because we're really dumb Indians. We don't even know we got anything coming. And why would I, if I'm a member, if I'm already Cherokee, I'm already in the club, why would I be missing? Does that make sense? So if my ancestral grandfather has Tim, and in this claims process, there is an account that is housed $190 million. It says right there that there's 4 recipients that have 4 ancestors that have more than $1 million coming to them. Okay. They're missing 17. At the time when I started, they were missing 17,000 ancestors, which would be me. I'm missing, but I'm found. Why would I be looking for someone? Why would I be looking for funds if I'm already Cherokee? Don't you think that my chief ought to send me a nice letter and go, hey, Raj, you probably ought to look into James Adair, okay? And you really should, because you've got at least 1 million more coming, and here's how to process. No, they're not going to do that. That's why they house the claims process on the Bureau of Indian.gov. That's where it is. And when I started doing this in 2018, now they haven't paid out one of those claims, not one, because now the website reflects they're looking for 30,000 people. So I'm sorry, during a claims process, if I've filed 13 claims, they haven't addressed those claims, right? Wouldn't that number 17,000 be getting less instead of more? And now 7 years later, now they're looking for 30,000. So that tells me they're not playing out nothing. They're just playing with us. It's just a game. All this stuff's a game. And my chief gets a big fat $2.5 billion check for 7,000 square miles of Cherokee land here. Okay. Now, what sits on that land is our airport. What sits on that land is oil, our oil companies, our industrial areas, totally. But those funds, do they go to the Indians or do they go to the white man? See the conflict? See the smoke screen here? So
Absolutely.
they're making it look like we have a indifference here on the program TV channel, when in reality, behind the scenes, they know exactly what they're doing. This is cold and calculated, okay? Every move that they're making. And I find it outrageous that my chief received $2.5 billion. And I've never used their health care before because, see, in our treaty, my grandfathers signed that treaty between them and the United States government. Okay. And so those funds, and the nation didn't become a nation until I was 10 years old. So I can show you all the documents that has been given to me to reflect I'm in my tribe, right? And how that process has evolved. Now I can so now I can go and I can get medical treatment. I can have dental treatment, eye treatment that falls under medical. But what the natives did is they took my money and they made me qualify for my own benefits. If I make too much money now, right, I don't qualify for the money that he's getting for me. That money goes to the next Indian that's too broke and qualifies, so they get my money. That's how it works here. And now they're calling me on the phone and they're wanting me to get insurance. Oh, they'll give me zero copay, zero deductible, zero. But today, if I sign, but once it all plays out, because I have a marriage license, they want my spouse's information. Well, I'm sorry, but they're not getting that. He's not Cherokee, and I'm not working, so I believe that I'm entitled to it. So even the process of me being in the process is rigged against me. Now it's just, and his regular budget, my chief's regular budget's $1.5 billion a year. So what is this money going for? To build casinos to screw all of us out of money? Because that's just a money laundering operation. And I know, and I'm very fluent in the casino industry background and everything that has to do with that industry, truly. So it's a scam. And how they get around that is what the Indians have done is they've created a hierarchy of the Indian, and they call it the Cherokee Business Nations. And the majority of those funds go into that part of it. And that hard rock you're talking about, those Seminoles have down there, the chief of the Seminoles has a private penthouse suite in that facility. You can, if you want to check that out and verify that, that's a matter of fact. And that's how, you know, so all of these Indians and all of this stuff has done nothing. They're just the white man claiming, claiming that they're doing real big things, and they're not. They're just not. And they're subservient to whoever they're getting that check from, which is the federal government. So I got a lot of distractions, for crying out loud. I'm gonna need to come in here. I got the prices right going on, the dogs, the bird, and everything. But
we're gonna keep it to about an hour, so yeah, let's just wind it up. But this is all good. Thank you.
But I mean, I'm very knowledgeable in that entire process. And I have enough research. Actually, I've been tasked to make my own documentary using my own research, because I'm just crazy like that. I found out a whole lot of stuff about me. I'm not in it to make friends. I'm not in it to do anything. I'm in it to make a better world for me and my children, and that is my goal. And I work every single day. And I know that now I'm more like Super Raj, because, I'm focused on, see, I believe that the change comes from within inside myself. Once I am where I need to be, then I can help the next person, right? And until I am at that point, I, in good conscience, cannot really, truly tell somebody to do something that I myself can't do.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
thank you for a beautiful share. And your vision and
I'm creating it as I go.
yes, there you go. That's it. You just you are, and we are, and this is a moment of creation here. So without going to my stuff, but I did do a little tour, Val and Raj, of the the down trees or whatever property here, just for fun, and I ended it with Tweety Bird, who's smiling at you and saying, "We got it. All nature gets it," and it's true. So,
Well, I want you guys to know that I actually just had a meeting about a month ago. Someone had assigned me to an individual, and they wanted me to do a project on the natives. And I actually told the person that I met with, I said, I'm sorry, but I cannot go forward with this project, because what I want to create is I want to create an environment where we all stand side by side, Peter. Period. And I don't care where I'm from.
right, exactly. Good.
Okay.
And
Now
then in our own networking spot, you're going to see, or we are seeing, people are going to come up to you, not just as that example you just gave, in what they were looking for, but they're still looking at it from that old perspective reference point. So
not after they meet me. No.
that won't work. So
We'll hold court right there in a minute, and I'll make them stand there looking dumb. Okay. Now that's the girl I am. Now I make everybody question, like some lady just came after me for some nonsense. And when I did an investigation into it or whatever, I ended up flipping the whole script on her and told her, well, you can send it back to me. Okay. How about that? I found out that you're not entitled to that extra device, that you think we owe you something. Well, I'm sorry. You push the button and see. I always operate with the assumption every one of us has an impairment because it's been perfectly designed for us to have one. Now, my goal in this world right now is to get my own inside together, to be operating at a functioning 100% level, be 30 years old, because I need the time to go back so that I have the strength and the balance and the knowledge to bring all of the new forward for us to be able to stand side by side, man and woman, together. Do you know what I mean? No one's above another. And I always treat everyone the same, and I don't care who they are. If they're the president of the United States, if I disagree, I will disagree. And that's just who, that's why I'm not
Cool.
everybody's cup of tea. So I just want you to know that that's where
we're-
I'm at. And my goal is for all of us to be healed, period. And I don't care whatever that looks like.
Well, we'll culminate, say, with that you're we have no interest in being personally attentive to persons, have to be liked or disliked, and all of the rest of those individual characteristics. I don't think that Val and I represent or want to, or are doing that. Not at all. And I actually was going to joke that looks like I might have passed through the when the Indians lined up a brave that they had to run through the gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. I think I might have gotten through the gauntlet.
We're all going to get through the gauntlet, and you know what? They're all going to have to face me. Now listen, if anybody has a problem with me, that's not my problem. That's their problem.
That's okay. Yeah, sure.
They need to work on that because I don't even give it a second thought. If somebody actually trespassed on me via a message the other day and they're a drama queen, I seen it for what it was, right? But I wanted to make sure that I let that person know, listen, I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I focus on solutions. That's it. That's my drive. That's my passion,
So we have here shared with that I call it a re-illusion, and that means being real. And solution is solutions present themselves, and people will come. You'll come across. We would like you to. I'm surprised that are 6 others actually with this call, Val? Today, or just 3 of us, right?
No, just 3 of us.
The others didn't answer.
No.
But the point being, again, that
well, what do you guys want from me? What?
Well,
what?
We wouldn't want anything like directly. It's not about
Okay.
trying to ask for anything at all. At the same time, there's this much broader context that we're holding.
Okay.
And each of us is also holding individually as we are. And so it's not about everybody saying, okay, well, we've all got to follow this one thing.
Right.
And absolutely not, really. And it's actually, we get to what the term is, to recognize the isness. And that is,
well, Val's
everyone
been
is
working
an
really
isness.
hard on me on that and living in the now. And I've
Sure.
really, really been focusing on that, Val. Okay, I have. Truly.
Good.
I'm making it the best experience
It's
that
a
I can make it.
lifetime. It's a lifetime learning. Yeah, recognizing. It's just ongoing. You never
Yeah,
can't
right.
culminate to anything. It's just ongoing. But I was going to say, I'm really happy that you're not part Comanche, because I hear the Comanche women are really out to, get you if they
Vociferate.
get you. Yeah.
Well, so far I haven't, found that out, but I am a Nez Perce and, I have genetic ties to Coco, Pocahontas's first husband. Okay. So that's what makes me Powhatan. And where West Point sits right now, William B. Scott donated that land where West Point sits. And I've done an extensive historical research on our history and how it all plays out and how it and why the Indians were removed. And it's a long story. It's for another Skype, but I would really like to share the history that I've found out. And I really would. Actually, Val, I'd really like to work with Kevin on. I learned how to do the. I got a Microsoft program to where I can put it all in there or whatever, and Kevin could just take that and we could get that, documentation. We could, you know what I'm saying? We could co-author that video, that documentary explaining a lot of stuff, and because what good is information if I can't share it? It's nothing.
Well, write it down. Write down what your needs are, and I can present it to him. I'm sure he'd be willing to do something like that. He's fun with that kind of stuff.
I know he is. He's done a great job. Like I've, since I've been away, I've, watched some of his videos and his graphics, and, he's just right at that point. If we can just give him the content to just drive stuff home, they would, because all the stuff that I've researched and done and everything, it really should, we really need to tell the true story.
I have a question.
But it might not even be the true story. That's what is my hesitation, is my point.
It's a story.
It's a story. It's just a story.
It's a reference for people to
that's right.
work off of,
to make them think. See, I really want to wake up all the natives and make them realize, because see, I was tasked, I had to give my backstory here recently to this company, and the leader just happens to be Cherokee, and this is a dear thing to her. So since I am so knee deep in it or whatever, I know that I'm going to have to publish what I know, and I believe it would help a whole lot of people, wake a whole lot of people up to the fact that they really don't know where they come from. And I've researched the migratory, and that's the DNA, right? And there's like 5 different sources, and every single thing, it's just 100%. You can't, it's irrefutable. Now, DNA is irrefutable as far as I'm concerned. And I work in a bioscan department right now. I'm building the infrastructure out for us to be able to, actually for me to, have somebody else replace me, and I'm going to be moving up. So I am in a good position to be able to implement anything that's going to be beneficial to the people that are in my surrounding areas. Do you know what I mean? And I will be using my funds.
Discovering themselves and their history.
That's right. I will definitely have a genealogy system set up area in my own, setup built into my infrastructure of what I'm going to be doing, because I think it's very important, and that's what they've taken away from us, is who we truly are. And when I found out where I come from, it just made so much sense, and I jumped all over it. And I haven't stopped. I have not stopped. But my focus right now is just to be the best Raj that I can be, and get better at articulating things and meeting new people, because I believe that this is a divine appointment, because there's nothing, I believe that everything is supposed to happen exactly at the time it's supposed to happen, and not 1 minute before, not 1 minute later. And I'm letting the universe work it out to my best. And so far it delivers every single day. I can't believe it. It's amazing. I'm very fortunate, and I feel very grateful to be here and to be, meeting you and sharing this with you. And do you know what I mean? If you guys want to meet up again or whatever, that'd be great. But I'm going to be busy all weekend or whatever. But I'll have to schedule to meet with you guys.
We're doing this on Mondays and Wednesdays.
At what time?
at the same time,
Okay.
at least this current. So next Monday will
Subject.
same, and
Okay.
it's always a particulars come up, and so
Okay.
we work with that because at the same time, yeah, the whole picture is something that is not has a word for it, doesn't have names, and we are just with it, and that is the grasp I think to hold to, and
Okay.
and on the whole of it, very important. So the one way that we share that, I guess, Val and I we sing "Nu You" here at the
Okay.
end,
All right.
or at the beginning, or whenever, and just to finish and we say, what do you say, Heidi Ho, for the weekend. And,
Okay.
you know, thank you very much, Raj, for beautiful sharing. And I appreciated all of that.
Well, I hope I brought
There we
something
go.
good. I hope I brought more, I don't feel like that I did anything except for be a good listener. And, I just want to bring value or I remain silent.
Yes. Yeah. I take that one myself. And thanks. Hey, ho, ho. I recall this old song that came back to me with David
Hey,
standing there. But let's, we do Nu You because this one is not denominational and it's not
oh, that's
specific.
fine.
And I don't know. I mean, that's my view of it. Again, everything
that's
is our
fine.
own view.
Well,
So,
we'll sing new. Let's go. Let's do it.
yeah.
Let's do it.
Thanks, you guys. Beautiful share. Thank you.
Thank you
See
so
you
much.
Monday. See you Monday.
Okay. All right. Send me the invite.